What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss, back at it again with another Arrowverse TV show review. And before I get into the video, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Today is Christmas, or at least the day that I'm releasing this video is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you guys got what you wanted, and even if you didn't get what you want, it's the thought that counts, you know. So Merry Christmas to everybody, and I guess for those who don't celebrate Christmas, hello, I guess, and happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate Hanukkah, and welcome to the last video of the year. Actually, this will be my last video of 2020. Man, what a year we've been through. But, you know, ready for 2021, ready for new possibilities, new opportunities for advancement, and, you know, making more videos and content for you guys. I probably will do a live stream, one last live stream before the year ends, so be on the lookout for that. But for right now, we are going to talk about this last Arrowverse review for 2021, and that is The Flash Season 3. And as always, before I get started, I just want to remind you guys, if you do enjoy this video, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're making a little bit of progress every day. So keep on liking, keep on subscribing, keep on commenting, and the support would be very appreciated. So chronologically in the Flash timeline, we left off with Barry saving his mom from the Reverse Flash at the end of Season 2 in the past. And, you know, him saying, like, oh, everything's going to be okay. He's not going to hurt you no more. Well, thanks to that, we open up with Flashpoint, which sucked, by the way, but I'll get into more details about that a little later. So things are different. Then he tries to put everything back to where it was, but it's still not what it was. There's still some different things. And basically for the rest of the season, Barry is dealing with, you know, everything that's his fault. These new metahumans that are being created, they're his fault. The main villain is his fault. And this season kind of suffers from the back half a little bit, but it's not terrible like it was initially thought it was, in my opinion. It's actually a pretty solid season of The Flash. Definitely better than the 2 that come after it, for sure. For standout episodes, there's actually quite a few of them, so bear with me here. We have episode 6 entitled Shade, which is mainly due to the last like 10 to 15 minutes of the episode. But then we have episode 7 entitled Killer Frost, episode 8 entitled Invasion, episode 9 entitled The Present, episode 11 entitled Dead or Alive, episode 13 entitled Attack on Gorilla City, episode 15 entitled The Wrath of Savitar, episode 16 entitled Into the Speed Force, episode 18 entitled Abracadabra, episode 19 entitled The Once and Future Flash, and episode 22 entitled Infantino Street, which is basically like, I'll give it a good 40% of the season. So like I said earlier, it's not a bad season of The Flash. It's actually a pretty solid season. It just has more problems than its predecessor. The main characters for this season are pretty much the same as the past 2 seasons, with a few additions and subtractions here and there. We have Barry Allen, Iris West, Joe West, Cisco Ramon, Caitlin Snow. Wally West actually becomes a main character this season. The new Wells, which is H.R. Wells, from Earth 19, I believe. And the main villain for the season, Savitar, aka Pizza Hut-faced Barry Allen.
And a pizza plus another pizza.
Then we also have quite a few side characters once again. We have Jessie Quick. She comes back for a few episodes. Her dad, Harry Wells, comes back. It's always nice to see him. Julian Albert he's sort of a main character, but I'm putting him in the side character section because he didn't appear too much until like the back half of the season. We have Gypsy. She's introduced into this season, and she appears, I think, like a couple times. Cecile Horton. I don't think she's introduced in this season, but she definitely shows up a lot more than she did in season 1 and 2. Tracy Brand, who was supposed to help them at the end of the season, shows up in like the last few episodes. And you know, got the boy Jay Garrick making his return. He appears a few times, and it's always nice to see him as well. I feel like the cast, you know, they're pretty well meshed together. You know, they work well together, especially Team Flash. I do, though, feel like once there were like a few more members added later in the season, it did kind of throw off the dynamic a little bit, especially, you know, Julian and Tracy. But overall, you know, they're pretty good. They're solid as a family together, and it's always a pleasure watching them interact, Team Flash. So, first up, we have the main man himself, Barry Allen, a.k.a. The Flash. And let me just get this out the way before I go into him.
Super mega Paw!
Everything is Barry's fault this season.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
It's all your...
Literally everything. Flashpoint, his fault. Trying to fix Flashpoint, but still making things not okay, his fault. The new Husk metahumans, his fault. Alchemy, his fault. Iris supposedly dying, his fault. Savitar, his fault. Should I continue? I don't think I should. But, you know, moving on from that, Barry is actually pretty good this season nonetheless. I mean, he's always good. He's not as good as the previous 2 seasons, though, like I said, but he's still good regardless. You know, he has some pretty cool emotional scenes, just quite a few of them, actually, this season. You know, with most of them having to deal with Iris. But, you know, it's not bad. It's not bad. Speaking of Iris, him and Iris's relationship actually takes off this season. Like, it's not in the beginning stages no more. They're actually in a relationship. They start, you know, living together and stuff. And it's cool. It's cool. It's not better than Mon-El and Kara.
What did he say?
But it's still good regardless. I do like the chemistry between Grant Gustin and Candace Patton. They have great chemistry together. And, you know, even though their relationship isn't the best one in the Arrowverse, I still like it regardless. And Barry is half of that reason why I like that relationship. But overall, he's still a cool character, you know, even though he makes a lot of mistakes this season. You know, he makes up for them towards the end. He makes the ultimate sacrifice at the end of the season. That was a pretty cool moment to see. Even though it was kind of ruined by the beginning of next season, it was still a cool moment this season. But yeah, he's good. He has some pretty cool fight scenes as well. Pretty cool emotional scenes. And yeah, he's just a good character this season. He's always going to be a good character. It might vary of the level of good, but he's still good regardless. Next up, we have Iris West, and she's an alright character this season. This season is where Iris kind of, you know, declines as a character. No fault to Candace Patton at all. She's still a great actress in the role regardless. It's just the writing for her character becomes bad. It starts particularly in the back half of this season where, you know, the back half is mainly focused around her because, you know, Savitar is going to kill her in the future, so everybody's trying to figure out how to save Iris. And Iris starts going out doing dumb stuff. Like, I forgot what episode it was, but it was where she was like, oh, I can't die, so why don't you kill me now? To this, like, guy who had a gun in her face or something. Like, she was acting like she was invincible. Like, Iris, relax, okay? And, you know, she's still an alright character, but it's just the writing choices in the back half of the season. I didn't like that for Iris, and it kind of makes her character a little flat, to be honest. And it's kind of anticlimactic at the end of the season where she's the one who ends up killing Savitar because, the whole back half of the season is focused around him killing her. And, she ends up killing him. What a moment. Even she says that.
All these months you were trying to save me from him. Look at that, I saved you.
You've got to be kidding me.
I know what you're chasing. You can only get this feeling from a thug. You can only get this feeling from a thug.
Like, what? What a very original idea, guys. But she's still an alright character regardless. I mean, she has some pretty cool emotional scenes, you know, like with her dad, with Wally, and with Barry. She is also part of the other half of the relationship with Barry. And like I said earlier, their relationship is good. And like I said, they have great chemistry together, and she's the other half of why that relationship works. And yeah, she's just an alright character to me this season. It's kind of sad though, because her character just declines next season dramatically, but I'll get to that later. Next up, we have Joe West. And Joe West, he doesn't really get to do a lot this season. He's still a decent character nonetheless, but he just doesn't do a lot this season, unless I'm missing something. Because from what I remember, you know, he's involved with, you know, Iris being predestined to die because that's his daughter. So he's involved in that. He's involved, you know, with Wally becoming Kid Flash a little bit. But the main thing I remember he was doing this season was, you know, gaining a relationship with Cecile, because she showed up more often this season for sure. And I mean, it was alright. It's not really a highlight of the season, but it was still alright regardless. But Joe West is still a good character. You know, he's always coming through with the fatherly advice, so you gotta love that advice. It always hits different whenever he hits us with the advice. And, you know, he has some pretty cool emotional scenes as well. Joe's very good with that. I mean, the actor, Jesse L. Martin, he's very good with that. But yeah, he's a decent character this season. He will always remain from decent to good throughout this show. Next up, we have Cisco Ramon. And he is a pretty good character this season, you know, always coming through with the jokes. So I really appreciate that. And he also steps more into his role as Vibe. He finally gets a costume, which is pretty cool. That costume's great to me, to be honest. And he's using his powers and stuff. He has some pretty cool fight scenes, especially the one where he's facing Gypsy. That was a cool fight scene. And like I said, he's always coming through with the comedy. He also has some pretty cool emotional moments with that. And, you know, Cisco, he always has a good connection to any Wells. And I mean, even though this Wells isn't typically my favorite Wells, HR Wells that is, he still has a pretty cool relationship with Cisco. You know, Carlos Valdez and Tom Cavanaugh. I almost forgot their names for a sec. They have great chemistry when it comes to being on The Flash for sure, no matter what character Tom Cavanaugh is playing. But yeah, Cisco Ramon is always going to be a good character. And it stays true this season. I forgot to mention with Cisco, he also starts, you know, gaining a little bit of a crush or, you know, romantic tension with a Gypsy. And it was alright. It wasn't really anything concrete. The more concrete stuff comes in season 4, but I'll get to that in the season 4 review. Next up, we have Caitlin Snow and AKA this season, Killer Frost. And this might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like this season is Caitlin's best season of The Flash so far.
Nah, nigga, pull that shit again. You gonna get your ass dropped.
We'll see.
Let's see right now.
Let's go. What's up?
Now, hold on. Hear me out. I just feel like this internal struggle with her, you know, her trying to fight off Killer Frost's control, her trying to hide her powers and then not use her powers as much so she wouldn't lose control and become Killer Frost. I think that was a great storyline for this season. And, you know, her ultimately becoming Killer Frost in the end, that was really great. I really like her as Killer Frost. Killer Frost's evil is ruthless, and I really like that about her character this season. And no, she does kind of, well, she doesn't turn good per se, but she just doesn't become evil anymore. I mean, I guess that was fine. I knew it was going to happen eventually because, you know, it's Caitlin, and I know they weren't going to kill her off the show, so you got to make Killer Frost good somehow. But overall, I did like her storyline throughout the season. It came with some pretty cool fight scenes, you know, some pretty cool emotional moments as well. And yeah, I just feel like season 3 was Caitlin's best season so far.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Next up, we have Wally West. And Wally West becomes a main character this season, and he gets his powers and becomes Kid Flash. Now, you would think that's going to be a glorious moment. He's going to have so much awesomeness throughout the season. You'd be mistaken.
I cannot fucking believe it. I can't.
The writers did him so dirty this season. Like, they built up all this hype for him to get his powers, and he finally gets his powers. He gets a few cool moments, and then just goes back into the shadow of Barry. Like, come on now, writers. Y'all could do better than that. Y'all didn't have to do him like that. He was in Barry's shadow, at least I think, after he like went into the Speed Force or got sucked into the Speed Force, then came out. Like, bruh, he didn't really have a lot to do after that. He was just there to provide Barry with support and, you know, another line of defense too. So I just didn't like that at all. No fault of Kenan Lonsdale's at all. He was just a victim of bad writing this season. But he was still cool nonetheless when he did have his moments to shine. He had some pretty cool fight scenes. I really, really like the Kid Flash costume. It's one of the most comic book accurate costumes I've ever seen, and it's just awesome. And when I mean comic book, like the New 52 Wally West, not the other one. And yeah, he's just a cool character this season who just suffers from bad writing. And it sucks because that's what we mainly remember about his character on his time on The Flash. Next up, we have the new Wells of this season, H.R. Wells, coming from Earth 19. And when I first watched season 3 of The Flash, I didn't really care for H.R. that much, but looking back on it now, he's not a bad Wells at all. Like, when I watched the season again a couple times, like, he's genuinely hilarious. Like, he's probably the funniest Wells out of all the Wells we've had so far.
How do you guys say see you later over there?
Yeah, he's hilarious. He has great comedic timing. He has some pretty cool emotional moments as well. Like I said earlier, he has great chemistry with Cisco. Once again, Carlos Valdez and Tom Cavanaugh, they always have great chemistry when it comes to Cisco's relationship with the Welleses. And I really appreciate that from this show. But yeah, he has some pretty cool emotional moments. He has a great bond with the team. And he does leave a mark as well on Team Flash. He does die at the end of the season. And even though I didn't really care for it back then, now it was a little sad because we're losing another stream of straight comedy and joyfulness with HR. And it was kind of sad to see him die at the end, but he sacrificed himself for Iris, and that was pretty heroic. So yes, even though HR is not my favorite Wells, he is definitely a Wells to remember for sure. And finally, we have the main villain of the season, Savitar, aka Time Remnant Barry Allen. When I look back on Savitar as a villain, he's kind of an unappreciated villain, to be honest. He's not the best, for sure, but he's definitely not a bad villain at all. I mean, look at his first appearance. His first appearance was awesome. That CGI form he had in episodes 7 and 9, I believe, those were just awesome. I mean, he was so threatening. He was killing it. He didn't kill anybody, but he was killing it with the fight scenes for sure. And then, you know, when he appeared later in like the back half of the season, that little clunky suit they made, it was like he gained weight or something. Like he gained pounds in that Speed Force prison. But, you know, it was a practical suit, so I can't really blame them too much for that. But he was still threatening regardless. I think people lost him when he revealed himself to be, you know, Time Remnant Barry Allen. Now, trust me, I've seen Grant Gustin, you know, try to play evil, and, you know, it's not really great or anything, but it's not really terrible like some people said it was. And I mean, he did fine for what he was given for sure, but he wasn't really given too much on that avenue. Like literally, he was only Savitar for like 3 episodes, I believe, for like, finally revealing himself in the last 3 episodes. So, I mean, he didn't really have too much to work with. And, I mean, he just wasn't really threatening that much after that. Like, even in the suit, he wasn't all too threatening. But he was still a cool villain nonetheless. His overall plan, it wasn't really that smart, to be honest. I mean, the one after killing Iris. I mean, I guess killing Iris wasn't really smart either, but still, the one after the Iris plan failed, it just didn't make sense. Like, oh, I'm going to spread myself throughout time. What? And then he gets killed by Iris. Out of all people, Iris West. What the irony. But overall, he's still a pretty decent villain. I'll say he's a good villain. I'll put him in the good section. Not great or anything like Reverse Flash and Zoom, but he's a good villain nonetheless. So before we continue, let's go into these side characters for a little bit. First up, we have Julian Albert, played by Tom Felton himself. So, we got a Harry Potter crossover with us. But he wasn't really my favorite character of the season, I mean, they did make him out to be kind of like a douchebag and a prick in the side of Team Flash, especially Barry, for at least 2/3 of the season. And to me, he kind of threw off the dynamic of Team Flash a little bit when he joined the team. But, he wasn't a terrible character. Like, he did have a few redeeming qualities that perked their heads up towards the end of the season. And, it's always nice to have another smart person on Team Flash, even though it did kind of crowd the room a little bit, especially when Tracy showed up. It got way too crowded. But, he's just an alright character. He's not terrible or anything. I just didn't care for him that much. But yeah, he's an alright character this season. It kind of does make sense why he only was a part of the Flash for 1 season. Jessie Wells makes a return this season. She shows up for like a few episodes. She has her powers now. She finally becomes a speedster hero. Jessie Quick. I do like the suit, even though it's just like a confiscated trajectory suit. That lady from season 2, just with a logo on it. But it was still cool nonetheless. I mean, she did all right as a speedster. And I mean, she did have like that relationship with Wally, even though it didn't really go anywhere after this season. It was still decent nonetheless. Her father also shows back up, Harry Wells, and Harry Wells is my favorite Wells, so it's always a pleasure seeing him, and he does stick around after the end of the season, so I'm pretty glad about that. Gypsy is introduced into this season. She's a pretty cool character. She had that little thing going on with Cisco, but like I said, it doesn't really go anywhere until season 4, so I'll talk about that in season 4 review. But yeah, she's still a pretty cool character and has some pretty cool fight scenes as well. Like I said earlier, I'm not really sure if Cecile was introduced into the Flash this season, but she definitely appears more often this season to where she can become a supporting character. And she's alright. The only thing she really does is, gives Joe a love story. So there's that. But then she does become a more prominent character next season for sure. But this season, she's alright. And we got Tracy Brand, and I mean, they kind of just threw her in there at the last minute. It didn't really make sense. I mean, she didn't even appear in the show after the 4 episodes she was in. So, I mean, she was alright, I guess. Like I said, it's another brain on the team, but she did make Team Flash kind of crowded. And, I mean, I didn't really care for her character that much. And we got Jay Garrick, the real Jay Garrick, making an appearance a few times. He's always coming in with the speedster advice, and he participated in a few fight scenes, which were pretty cool. So it's always good to see him. So getting into the rest of the aspects of season 3 of The Flash, let's go over the costumes and suits. And there were quite a few. I'm probably not going to remember all of them, but I'm just going to go through the ones I remember. The Flash suit suit is pretty much the same as, previous 2 seasons. Well, the same as this last season, with the white emblem and all. Even though we did get a tease of the season 4 suit in that episode where the Flash went to the future and, the future Flash had on that suit. Even though that's kind of not accurate anymore, it was still good to see that nonetheless. We got the Kid Flash suit, like I said, it's really cool. I really like that suit. We have the Vibe suit. I really like that suit. Killer Frost, she had a little something going on. She had like the blue robe, I guess. Not a robe, but whatever she had on, it was cool. We have the Rival suit from episodes 1 and 2. I really like that suit. It's sad that he only appeared in 2 episodes and wasn't really that good, because his suit was awesome. We have the Jesse Quick suit, and like I said, it's pretty cool, even though it's just a recycled trajectory suit. It's pretty cool nonetheless. And we got the Savitar suit, and like I said earlier, I did like it more when it was just a straight CGI form suit instead of, puffy, practical Savitar, but he was still cool nonetheless. It was still a cool suit. The villains of the week, they kind of varied this season. Like, some were good and some were not good. Gorilla Grodd returned, so it's always nice to see him. Another good one was Abracadabra. He showed up in like the back half of the season. I liked him, but some other villains, like, they weren't good at all. Like Mirror Master and Top, they weren't good. Whoever that kid was that was controlling the monster, like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Shade wasn't good. And I know I said that Shade was episode 6 of The Flash, season 3, and that was in my Standout Episodes. Like I said, that was only because of, like, the last 10 to 15 minutes of the episode. That had nothing to do with Shade himself. And Dr. Alchemy was actually a good one. He was Julian Albert, of course, but he was like a mind-controlled Julian Albert, which kind of made me kind of lose a little bit of, liking for him. But he was still cool when he was, like, mysterious in the first half of the season, for sure. So the villains of the week, like I said, they varied from week to week. So they weren't all bad, but they weren't all good either. So it was kind of like a steady stream of okay and bad this season. The fight scenes, once again, are pretty good. It always amazes me how the Flash should be doing these fight scenes at super speed. So yeah, the Flash had pretty cool fight scenes this season. I mean, those speedster fights are always one to watch for sure. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the fight scenes. The fight scenes are pretty good this season. The overall storyline of the season, like I said earlier, it was all right. It kind of, lost its flair, and I kind of lost a little bit of interest towards the back half of the season. But, it was still an all right storyline nonetheless. It didn't get too boring, but, it just kind of got clunky, a little repetitive towards the end of the season. But it was not a bad storyline. It was just some writing problems that made it uninteresting towards the end. I see also that the Flash kind of has a pattern with, having these great, season finales with these great cliffhangers, but only to just come back the next season and it's not interesting. They drop the ball on any hype that cliffhanger had. So for instance, this season, or at least last season with Barry saving his mom, that was awesome. But then Flashpoint was bad. It was bad. Like, the little stakes, like, what? The few changes there were, it didn't make any sense. And I'm actually glad now that it was only one episode, because the way they did it was not good at all. And then you have this season, which ended off with a good cliffhanger too, with Barry going into the Speed Force to stop the Speed Force storm. And it's also ruined. Well, not ruined, but it's also made kind of pointless at the beginning of next season. But I'll get into that next season. And finally, we have the crossovers of this season. Yes, I said crossovers because there are 2 crossover episodes in this season of The Flash. The first one is the Invasion crossover, the true first part of that crossover. And it's awesome. I just love seeing all these characters coming together. You know, Team Arrow, Team Flash, Team Legends, and Supergirl coming together finally to fight the Dominators, who are the villains for this crossover. And they were pretty cool villains, you know, aliens and all. It's pretty cool. And there was also some good tension between the teammates, you know, finding out that Barry caused Flashpoint, which made Diggle's daughter become his son, I guess. That made more sense in my head. But if you've seen the episode, then you know what I'm talking about. And, you know, it caused some drama with the Legends as well. And then, you know, they all went on a mission without Barry and Oliver. Then they came back mind controlled and had to fight them. It was just a cool crossover episode. It's one of my favorite crossover episodes ever. So, yeah, definitely kudos to everyone behind that crossover for making that a good crossover episode. And the cliffhanger, you know, with the Dominators taking all of Team Arrow, or at least like the original members of Team Arrow, like the Atom, Sarah, Speedy, Diggle, and Oliver, you know, taking them up into their ship. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool cliffhanger. I understand why they did it, but it was still cool nonetheless. And it was just an awesome crossover episode. Definitely one for the history books. And then the second crossover was the duet crossover. It was another crossover between The Flash and Supergirl, which kind of started on Supergirl with like the end of that Supergirl episode in season 2 and continued really into this episode of The Flash. And it was an alright crossover. It wasn't terrible or anything. Definitely not one of my favorite crossovers, but you know, it was something different. You know, all the actors got to show off their singing and dancing chops. As y'all know, Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist were previously on Glee, so you know they got to stretch their voices and their dancing chops and show that off. So I bet they had fun with it. And the guy who played Blaine, I forgot his name. He played Music Meister, and I actually did not know that until I watched Glee, and then I watched that duet episode again. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Blaine. But yeah, it was an alright crossover. It was cool to see that little team up fight with Kid Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Vibe. That was a pretty cool scene as well. So yeah, it wasn't a terrible crossover. It was just kind of made for some fun, it was kind of weirdly placed though, like at the back half of the season, especially with all the Iris stuff popping off. But it was still a decent crossover. I mean, it brought Iris and Barry back together from their like relationship problems, and Mondale and Kara with their relationship problems. So it brought those two couples back together. So that was cool, I guess. But like I said, it's not my favorite crossover, but I guess it was definitely a different one, and I appreciate like something different here every now and then. So overall, even though this season did have its problems, it still comes out to me as a solid season of The Flash for sure. It doesn't really deserve all the hate that it's gotten over the years. I think people are actually starting to come around and see that season 3 was not a bad season of The Flash. It just had glaring issues for sure, but you can't really ignore all the good things that it did as well. So if I had to give it a rating out of 10, I would give season 3 of The Flash an 8 out of 10. In that good to okay range, in between there. Like I said, it's a solid season of The Flash for sure. So an 8 out of 10. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in to another Arrowverse TV show review. Tune in next time because we'll be going over Arrow Season 5. And I am pretty excited to be going over that. So just stay tuned for that episode. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of The Flash Season 3. Was it okay? Was it good? Was it bad? Just let me know that in the comments down below. And if you did enjoy this video, just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And once again, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I will see you guys in 2021. Peace out.